As you can probably already tell by the title and thumbnail, it's time for a yearly redraw. For you who are new here, I've been redrawing this picture since I was 13 years old. I redraw it every May. This is my 6th time redrawing it, but I'm gonna let the footage roll and I'm gonna keep on talking. Like I was saying, I redraw this picture every May because of Mermaid. For you who don't know, Mermaid is a challenge where you draw a mermaid every day of May. I did not participate this year. I've been busy with figuring out college plans and other things and not managing my time very well. But hopefully I'll get to draw a few mermaids before May is over. I love redrawing this picture and seeing how my art has changed and improved, and it's fun seeing what I gravitate towards and seeing how the picture has changed with time. One of the reasons I redraw this picture is to see how much I've improved over the years, because like I mentioned, I've been redrawing this since I was 13. But this year I was mainly thinking about how you can see what my current interests are and where I am in my art, which you could think of that as improvement. Right now I'm thinking of my decisions I make and my current interests in my art. I also feel like I wasn't trying to think about improvement because I felt like I haven't improved a lot since last year's picture, and I still really like last year's picture. I didn't think this picture would turn out much better than last year's, or any better really. Last year I felt this way too, but then there ended up being a good amount of improvement. I don't make as many finished pictures as I used to. For example, right before drawing this picture, I drew a finished picture, which I can't show you right now. But before that picture, the last time I drew a finished picture was like June, July last year, which I thought was crazy because I don't feel like it's been that long since I've made a finished picture, but it's been about a year. And I just thought that was crazy because it doesn't feel like it's been that long. So you can imagine how I was kind of worried that I didn't improve at all because I haven't been making finished pictures. I've been making a lot of more sketchy things and not putting any pressure on myself to make anything finished. I do want to make more finished pictures now as of recently. For you who don't know, I've been working on rebuilding passion for art because I kind of lost a bit of it at some point when life got kind of hard. And now I'm at a point where I'm gravitating towards making finished pictures and really making art that I enjoy looking at. I feel like I've had my spark kind of come back, and I honestly kind of miss making finished pictures now. So you're probably going to see more of that from me in the future. For this drawing, I was looking at the original picture I drew and decided to give her her bangs without a hair part back and make her hair a little more sharp and clean. I found in the newer drawings and the different versions of her hair got very messy at some point. And I've been having a lot of fun drawing blunt hair and just fun shapes in general. I've been really loving drawing like really fun shapes. And I've been really enjoying blunt hair, as you can kind of see in areas like at the bottom for Bob and for her bangs, and I just think it looks really cute. I did think about changing the top of her tail to like ruffles. I ended up going with a pretty standard upper fin, whatever you want to call it, like I have in the rest of the pictures. Maybe the ruffles could have been really cute, but I didn't really feel like experimenting with that in that moment, especially because I kind of felt like I didn't have a lot of time for finishing this picture. For you who don't follow me on Instagram, which by the way, I've been sharing a lot more on Instagram now, or I'm going to be trying to. I finished drawing this like the day before recording this voiceover, which I'm gonna post this video tomorrow. Hopefully I actually get it done, but I'm kind of rushing this video because of things I have coming up and because of things I had before this. They didn't leave me a lot of time to finish this, but it's also partially my fault for not managing my time well, but it is what it is. So yeah, I didn't feel like experimenting with a new tail ruffle thing. But those are about really all the differences between this year and last year's, besides the pose. I kind of forgot to focus on flow and expressions this year. The goal for a lot of the pictures over the years has been flow and good expressions, and I really wish I remembered to focus on that when I was drawing this picture. I did feel like I didn't have much time to finish this. I'm pretty sure I've already said that, but I feel like I didn't have a lot of time to finish the picture, so I was kind of just going through the motions trying to get this picture done. But I also was looking a lot at the original picture and thinking about how I'd redraw this original picture, which I feel like kind of resulted in her being the way she is. I don't feel like it's bad by any means. It's just not as expressive, and I do really enjoy expressive pieces, but I do think she still turned out really cute, even if she is a little less flowy or expressive. This year's girl seems a little more relaxed. Last year's picture, she seemed really excited and happy to be swimming, and it feels like we just got a little glimpse of her. But this year, she has a very relaxing vibe to her. It doesn't feel like she's in a rush at all. I also did decide to make her look towards us more this year. A lot of the years I drew her in a more of a 3/4 view, but this year I decided to have her look more towards us to kind of mimic the original picture. Of course, for the original picture, her eyes were looking to the side, but her head was facing right towards us. And I did also experiment with the nose, which I think turned out pretty cute. I'm trying to figure out more ways to draw noses and ears that don't limit me and makes it so I can do lots of angles. And I might start doing this with my noses because I like the fact that it's just like my normal noses, but it has a little line to indicate that it's turned. Because I don't want to draw a sideways nose if she's only barely turned. It just doesn't really make sense. It can kind of throw it off a bit. For the line art, it went fine. The only problem I had was I did use the wrong brush at some point, which I was so confused on why the line art was looking really bad in some areas and why I was having such a hard time drawing it. And then I realized I was using the wrong brush. I didn't redo all of it, just the areas I felt like needed to look a bit softer. I'm using a brush that kind of looks like a ballpoint pen, and when you press lighter, the particles get farther apart, and it has a really fun texture. I personally really like using textured line art brushes, and I really like this one because of how soft it feels. And I will end up coloring the line art later. Most of the coloring was pretty normal. I didn't add on the really bright highlights until the end of shading her. That's what I usually do because the light source is so intense. I don't want to overly blow out certain areas. So I usually wait to add the really bright highlights. Usually I just add glow on top of all of it and go in and add sharp highlights where needed. I do feel like I could have added a little more sharp highlights here and there, but I still feel like it ends up looking fine. I'm aware it's probably not on screen right now, but yeah. For the hair, eyes, and skin, again, most of the shading was pretty normal for these things. I had a lot of fun with the eyes. I think the eyes turned out really cute. I can usually color eyes pretty quick, and I always feel like they turn out so cute. They're always so fun to color, but I'm done so quick, so it's kind of sad because I love doing it so much. It just adds so much life to the picture, and it's just so fun. For the tail, I found a brush set on the Clip Studio Asset Library. It was like a 3-pack. It had like a dark scale brush, a light scale brush, and then just the scaled line art. I did originally use the one that had shading, but it felt like way too much detail for my art style personally, so I went with just the line art, because I didn't want it to feel out of place. Of course, the scales are detailed, but I feel like it doesn't look out of place with how I did it. I kept it pretty simplistic because I feel like my art is simplistic yet detailed at the same time. And I always enjoy kind of simplistic pictures I found recently. And I love a balance of details but simplicity. For coloring the tail, I just added tons of varieties and shades of blues all over just to make it look scaly and interesting. And of course I did shade the tail to show its form and that it's rounded. And I made sure when I was using the brush that placed the scales that I pressed lighter so the scales would get smaller as it goes down the tail. And I tried to make sure to add depth to the tail with my shading to make sure that you could really see what the tail was doing and it didn't look like it was going straight down, so the tail wouldn't look flat. One of the things that were a little weird to shade was the shirt, because I can't clip my layers together because I have this white layer on top of her that is set to a lower opacity, and for you who don't know, when you clip something to a layer that's set to a lower opacity, it makes all the layers a lower opacity. At least that's what it looks like. So you can't really clip them together because I didn't want all of them to lose their opacity, because I want to add white opaque spots because the shirt is wet. Like I said last year, I tried my best to make sure it didn't look inappropriate at all, because even though I made it so this year you can see her shell bra through her shirt, originally she was wearing just a mermaid t-shirt, but at some point I decided to just make her wear the shirt like a normal shirt, just making sure it looks innocent and that you're just kind of seeing the shells and that she just has a fun little shirt thrown on. But yeah, it was definitely kind of difficult shading the shirt for sure because it is a wet t-shirt and I didn't do the best job. It doesn't really look wet, but it is what it is. I tried my best. Hopefully I'll do better next year and I'll figure out this whole shirt thing. After I colored the mermaid, I moved on to the background, which I had a placeholder background for a while just to see what the levels were going to be like, so I wasn't drawing a white void, because when you're drawing a white void it can kind of mess with colors because of what it's next to. But I basically just did a gradient from dark to light, and I added on beams of light, which I just took the gradient that was making it lighter at the top and just pulled it down with a blending tool and also blended out the edges so that it wasn't too much light or it didn't go too far down. I had a lot of fun with the bubbles. It's so much fun drawing them. For a bit I did just use a brush, but last year I decided to just draw them myself and I feel like they look so cute. Again, I don't want overly detailed things where my style is more simplistic in ways. Of course, it's not overly simplistic. There's a level of simplicity I feel like my art has, and I feel like me drawing the bubbles myself really helps with that. And I did also try to make the highlights go towards the center of the picture. I don't know if it makes any sense. I think it does because I imagine the light coming from the middle above her, so I imagine all the highlights are going towards the center because that's where the main light source is. I feel like it looks fine. I don't know. I found this pattern on the Clip Studio Asset Library a while ago. I can't remember which picture I originally found it for. It just looks like the surface of the water and I like to use it. It's very nice. It's very useful. I usually blur it out. I could draw something like this, but it usually saves me time just using this image because I blur it out a lot and you can barely even see it. I also set it to add glow so it looks like the light is shining through it. I make the picture pretty bright at the top to show how much light is coming in, and I think it just looks pretty. I might have made it a little too bright at the top this year, but I don't think it's bad. And something I almost forgot about are her bracelets and necklace. I wasn't sure if I was going to add the necklace or not, but I decided to keep it because my younger sisters thought they were really cute, so I decided to keep them. And yeah, I feel like she looks really cute and I'm happy with how she turned out. I was really worried that I wasn't gonna like it at all or I haven't improved at all. It would just be a downgrade. I feel like there's areas in this picture you could see it as a downgrade, but I really like how her face turned out. I feel like she looks so sweet and I just like this picture in general. I am aware some people are gonna like last year's photo more and some people are gonna like this year's photo more, or maybe you're gonna like a photo from 2 years before more. Everyone can have their own opinion. I personally think this picture is an improvement. Of course not in every way, but there's elements of this picture I do really like. But yeah, I like this picture. I think it turned out cute. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video, and I hope you all have a good rest of your day. Bye!